Hi guys, welcome back to another GGF video review. Today we have another Gigabyte motherboard for you. We have the G1 Sniper M3 board and it's from the G1 Killer gaming series. A few features on this board. It is the Z77 chipset, socket 1155. Once again, it's got your 3D BIOS, 3D power, it's got your Creative Core sound, and it supports dual SLI and Crossfire. Alrighty, on the side it's just your standard quick info in all the different languages. Not much there. On the top, just a serial. Okay, on the back we have a sort of a quick outline of everything. We've also put it up on the TV like the previous motherboard review we did. We'll get into that shortly. First off, we'll just get the camera to focus on the quick specifications, so you can pause it there if needed, so you can have a look. Alrighty, so we'll go into the board more detail in a tick. I'll just open it up and we can see what goodies you get with it. Alright, so straight away you get your sort of poster. Again, if you've had any of these boards, it's just your standard G1 Killer logo on the front and then sort of that on the back. Alright, sticker set, bullets, bullet holes, and then your logos, another logo. Alrighty, the board itself, I'll get into that into a tick. I'll just go to the accessories you get. Alright, so you get two SATA cables, so each one of those is a right angle on one end for each. Same again, right angle on one end for each. You have your SLI connector, your IO shield, which also comes with the logo on the top of the back there. Alright, we have your guidebook there. We have the normal manual there to get everything going, and then we have your driver disc there. Alrighty, so I'll put all that to a side and we'll get onto the board itself. Alright, there's the board itself if you want to take a shot of that. Alrighty, as said before, this is the Z77 chipset from Intel. It is your socket 1155 there. I'll start with the memory. It is dual channel 1066 all the way up to 1600 megahertz. We have a standard 4-pin power connector up the top. I believe it's got 4 fan headers around the board, 2 along the top, 1 on the side, and then probably 1 on the bottom somewhere. There's 1 there. 24-pin power there. It's also got the USB 3 header on the motherboard as well. Moving on to SATA, we have all the SATA is controlled via the Intel chipset itself. The top 2 white ones are your SATA 3 6 gig, and the 2 lower black ones are your SATA 2 3 gig, and we also have another SATA 2 black one down the bottom. Moving around the bottom, we have your front panel connectors for your power button, LEDs and whatnot, USB along the bottom. Alright, moving up to the Pci Express slots, we have 3 all up. We have a 16 at the top, a 16 at the bottom, and we have a 4 in the middle. Now I believe the bottom one, actually going looking at the bottom one, is 8 only. And then I believe if you run a SLI or dual Crossfire setup in the top and the bottom, they actually both clock down to 8. So you get 8 if you're running 2 video cards in those. But if you're just running one at the top, you've got a full 16. And then they're all the PCIe 3.0 standard, and we just have your standard PCIe 1x, which is the 2.0 standard. Alrighty, moving along to the bottom left of the board, we have a creative sort of sound chip on there. It does have the interface power shielding, that little bracket around the side that sort of gives you clear audio and stops interference. We have your battery socket and the battery just above the top Pci Express slot. I think that's pretty much it on the front of the board. I'll move around to the rear connectors. Starting from the left, we have your two standard USB. We have your multifunction PS2 keyboard plugged there. Your video outputs for this is DVI, VGA and your HDMI. Alright, it looks like that also may be DisplayPort as well. I think that is DisplayPort, which is also handy. We also have another two black USB, which is standard. We have a red standard USB 2, which is also a powered USB port. If your system is off, you can still charge devices like your phone and whatnot. We have two blue USB, that'll give you your SATA 3. I believe the network card is just an Intel Gigabyte desktop adapter, and then we have the audio with your 3.5mm in and out jacks with your optical connector as well. So that's pretty much it. It's a micro ATX board, and that's pretty much it for the board itself. For now, we'll leave it at that, and we'll get this fired up into a sort of a test rig, and we'll go through the BIOS and go through everything with you. Alright, welcome back guys. We've got this board all hooked up, the G1 Sniper M3 on our little Gigabyte test rig that's been set up by Dan. As you can see, it's looking pretty good there. Okay, we've got the same Gigabyte we got the same Gigabyte video card we had in the G1 Assassin, our 680 OC edition. So that's going nicely in there. If you have a look on the screen now, we've just booted up into the BIOS. Very similar to our last video review. The boards are a little bit more sort of clearer laid out. So as before, I'll just go through the different options in this view, in the 3D view. You can also rotate it around like that. So I'll start off with the CPU. So you pretty much got your frequency, memory timings and voltage. We do have a 3570K in this, so this is the unlocked CPU. So I'll leave that like that for now. I also notice once you do that, you also, on the far right here, if you can see that, we also sort of get some sort of quick fly options. We can see V-core, memory timings, temperatures and fan speeds. So that looks pretty neat and that's handy to know. So let's move over to the SATA. So pretty basic there, just the SATA controllers and the SATA mode. Over to the extra features in the BIOS, we have full screen logo, VT, system languages, I think English is what we need, so that should be fine. Expansion slots, we have PCI run priority and first display. Device will set that to auto, so it just detects the primary VGA. Okay, we have our phase control, so it looks like we can set the phase control if you're doing some extra overclocking in that. So we've got our voltages on this one, current, thermal. So these are some more sort of advanced power options, probably more or less used when you're doing overclocking and things like that. And then on our I/O panel on the back, we have our lane control enable, audio device, and just our USB options there. So if I now hit escape, we can go into our more sort of advanced options. Very similar to our previous review on the Assassin 2 board. You got your overclocking features on the first page. System options, these are just more languages, date, BIOS version, model name of the board. Go through the BIOS features, things you can turn off like full screen logo, set your password, Intel VT, things like that. We have over two peripherals. Now this one has a few more options than the Assassin 2 because this has 3 displays on the board built in. So it's got your DVI, HDMI and DisplayPort, if you can see that. So you can turn them on or off and set how much RAM you want to allocate to the Intel on board. Alright, moving on to power management, we've got sort of your resume by alarm, powered on by keyboard, and what your soft off button can control, and then the final is save and exit. And it looks like there's also a Q flash option up on the right, so you can go straight into updating your BIOS. Within the BIOS you don't need to reboot or anything. So I'm just going to do a quick overclock like I did in the previous review. I've got it already set up. I'm just doing the exact same settings we had in the Assassin 2. We do have a slightly different chip. This one's clocked 100 MHz higher stock, so it's 3.4. So straight away I've gone for 4.5 gig. I've set that to auto. Let's have a look. We'll set the PCIe base clock to 100. I've turned the graphics clock off, and our extreme memory profile is set to 1600 MHz. We are running 1600 MHz memory, so we'll save that F10. Before I do that, we'll just have a quick look at temperatures just to make sure that's also in the MIT option. So CPU temperatures at 49 degrees, system temperatures at 28 degrees, so that's all fine there. So let's just F10 that, save that, yes. Alrighty, we'll let that boot up. I must say these Z77 chipsets are really fast to boot. If you look at this boot now, this is on an SSD, so it says starting Windows now. You get the 3 dots and it's pretty much straight away in Windows at the desktop. So now that is fast. Alrighty. Let's bring up this CPU Z again. So as you can see straight away, it is sort of throttling between 1.6 and 4.5. So it's doing the 1.6 to save power and whatnot. So I'll just start off our sort of benchmark program over there. We just have to wait for 1 minute for that to kick off. I will show you, I did run 3D Mark 11 on this before. I'll just show you a quick result that it got. So I got performance 9701, we've turned physics off. So it's running the same Gigabyte GGF 680 OC WindForce edition as we had in the Assassin 2 board. That was running the 3960X at the same clock speed, so it's just under 1,000 difference, which isn't too bad for a little micro board like this to nearly crack 10,000 with a simple overclock and just a single GPU. Alright, how's that one going? It's got 10 seconds to go, and we'll see this up at 4.5. This should be pretty stable. The vehicle set at auto, but once again, like the last board, we should easily be able to get up to the high 4s and 5s on this chip with good cooling. Alright, as you can see now, 4.501. So the vehicle's just over 1. So that's running nicely there. So that's it for this review. I think we've covered everything on this Gigabyte board. So I'd like to thank Gigabyte for these few boards we've got, and stay tuned for the next review.